So, we are less than 1 week away from E3 2014. Of course, Monday the 9th of June was meant to be the big reveal from EA for Battlefield Hardline. Of course, unfortunately for EA, that hasn't gone quite as planned. As we all know from the updates in Battlelog and the leaking of a 7-minute trailer, practically everyone in the Battlefield community knows quite a lot about Battlefield Hardline. Now, of course, we have been told that trailer is over 6 months old, so we are hoping at E3, at the reveal, and of course on the show floor with the beta, we will see a lot more of the game that we don't know about already. Now, from that 7-minute trailer, we saw everything I would expect to see in an E3 reveal. Of course, it was quite a long trailer, 7 minutes, showing multiplayer and single player, devs talking about the way the game's been developed, the way the game's changed. Interestingly, they did show the multiplayer before the single player, which I think is probably the right way of doing things. Of course, I think the multiplayer is definitely a much more important aspect to all Battlefield players than the single player aspect of the game. Now, whether or not this is actually 6 months old, whether or not Visceral are just saying that and now frantically between when that trailer was revealed and now E3, trying to put together something new and different, because maybe that was going to be the E3 trailer. Of course, it still was using the codename Omaha, which would lead you to believe it's maybe a little bit out of date, but I wouldn't be surprised if that actually was the E3 trailer, and now we're seeing Visceral Games and DICE and EA having to quickly put together a completely different trailer, try and show us something new and different at the big main official reveal at E3 next week. So there is already quite a lot of information out there regarding this game, and that's why today I want to ask you guys if you are interested or not so interested in this game, if you think it's going to be good or if you think it's going to be bad. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is slightly early to be asking us this. Well, this is exactly the reason I'm asking you now. I'm interested to know what you guys think of this game from what we've seen so far before we hopefully see a lot more revealing stuff about this game at E3. So I'd love to hear from you down in the comments below. Now, for me personally, there are some aspects to this game that I am pretty excited for, and there are some aspects that do slightly worry me. Now, of course, for a player who is very much a fan of infantry-focused combat, seeing a game surrounding SWAT officers or SWAT infantry police officers, so not seeing lots of tanks and armoured vehicles and attack choppers and attack fighter jets, does make me pretty excited. Now, of course, that isn't to say there aren't still a lot of vehicles in the game. As I discussed in my last video, from the trailer we did see there are still little bird choppers, there are still aeroplanes, there are still lots of vehicles, but instead of seeing things like tanks and personnel carriers that have big guns on them, anti-aircraft vehicles, we see things like police cars, civilian vehicles, we see some police motorbikes, we do see a little bird chopper, but of course instead of having big miniguns on the side, you have to use the guns of a co-pilot as your weaponry. So instead of seeing vehicles to fight each other with, warfare vehicles, we're more seeing transport vehicles for this game. So for somebody who does enjoy infantry focused combat, this is definitely something I am looking forward to. Now, I myself am the type of player who will jump in a vehicle from time to time, but I will only use it to get from point A to point B. I won't try and stay in a tank for an entire round. So maybe having the opportunity to jump in a police cruiser and just use it to go from point A to point B, maybe get a squad mate in there to lean out the window and act as some cover or a weapon for the vehicle, is the kind of thing I'd want to do. Now, another thing I am really looking forward to, of course, being a police-themed game means we've never seen police-themed game modes in a Battlefield title before, so it does mean we are going to get some very fresh game modes. From the trailer, we saw the name Blood Money, we also saw Heist. Now, Heist looked very interesting. We saw the attacking team, the police force, moving into the bank, while the defending team, the criminals, were trying to break open those bank safe doors and take the money inside. So it looked like a very strange version of Rush. So those new game modes are definitely something I am looking forward to. Now, a few things that do slightly worry me about this game. One, of course, it is something we've never seen from Battlefield before. Now, whilst that does have its positive merits, it also is slightly worrying that it's something they've never experimented with before. So this could be, the first trial and error. Maybe this game won't be so good, but maybe Hardline 2 could be better. But all the same, I am excited to see something very different from the usual game style. But as I said, it could lead to a few issues. Now, a few other things that do slightly worry me. From looking at the gameplay so far, it does look like we're seeing the exact same animations, the same weapon models, all practically the exact same graphics and animations and models we saw in Battlefield 4. So it does feel to me like maybe this could be some kind of Battlefield 4 DLC rather than just a brand new standalone game. like we saw with Bad Company 2, Bad Company 2 Vietnam, this to me so far feels like it could be Battlefield 4 Hardline rather than a complete separate title. But I do want to say I am still very excited for this game. I can understand why a lot of people in the community are very anxious about how good this game is going to be. Of course, Battlefield 4 wasn't quite as good as we had been expecting. But of course, we've got to remember this game isn't being made by DICE. Now, whilst I still love the work that DICE do, this game is being made by Visceral, so whilst it still carries the Battlefield name that might worry you slightly from what we saw with Battlefield 4, for all intents and purposes, this is going to be a completely different and brand new game. Now, the engine for Battlefield 4 is a pretty good engine. We have no real worries with the engine Frostbite 3. Of course, the netcode issues with the game, it depends really if we're going to see this game on the old consoles, the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, and still see the same tick rate limitations we saw with Battlefield 4. But if not, even if it is still using the Frostbite 3 engine, this game could still be a really great title. So that about wraps up today's video. I just wanted to check up with you guys your opinion on Battlefield Hardline before we see any more information from E3. Of course, after E3, I will be doing a lot more videos, giving you guys a lot of information about Battlefield Hardline, a lot of extra information, and of course, I'll be hearing back from you guys again on what your new opinion is after we see much more at E3. But of course, if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave all your thoughts and comments below, and please do hit that like button. It really does help me out, and I do massively appreciate it. But in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.